We got a super thanks to get to, actually a bunch of them on today's Cowboys. That's what happens when we don't do a mailbag show on Monday because we have the trade deadline on Tuesday. Tina Young, who did they trade for? Who's this guy? This is in reference to Jonathan Mingo with Double J2288 saying, I'm not even mad that it's Mingo. It's on brand, but it's a fourth. We broke this down in depth on the show. Make sure you guys check it out on the video if you haven't already. You gave him a fourth-round pick for a guy you had a third-round grade on, which actually makes me feel worse because why? That's really bad trade return. For a guy that has been very bad in Carolina, has athletic upside. I think Double J228 is right. It's not that you made a trade for Mingo. That's fine. It's what you gave up to get him. Nobody was offering a fourth-round pick for Mingo. The mass consensus around the NFL was that was an overpay. They're not good at trades unless it's veteran players that they're acquiring. Now, those both came in via Super Thanks. It is a feature here on YouTube. Allows you to donate just like you do a Super Chat, except it's on demand. Edit your message. Send it whatever you want to send it. Even if it's F you, Tom. Well, we might have to edit for language. We'll give you a shout-out on today's show. Fernando Garcia, hello, Tom. I think probably what the Jones boys did was to not move the roster that much. They think they have a good team. The next head coach next year can evaluate, and if necessary, then do the new trades or free agency moves. But either way, it's a terrible plan. This is true, then why is Mike McCarthy still here? If the excuse is not to make moves because the head coach will leave, why not do it already? I agree with this. And I want to kind of mention Fernando and Trevor Duncan's super thanks here in pretty similar categories. Trevor says, Tom, Jerry did all this about $100 million of cap space. Next year have a scapegoat on the offseason if you can't even wait that long. I'm willing to bet Jerry Jones fires McCarthy the next couple months, if not sooner. Definitely don't think McCarthy will be back next year. The Joneses will use every shortcoming game result as fuel to fire McCarthy. It's ridiculous what this man is doing in this franchise. He has sole control for now and the foreseeable future. I will say, Jerry has given a lot of power to Stephen Jones and others in this organization. He listens to, I would argue, sometimes too many people when it comes to decision-making processes, too many voices from outside the organization. In general, with the whole Jerry Jones planning thing, they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted to set themselves up and not commit too many assets this year, and they thought they were good enough to get worse on purpose and still win 9 or 10 games. Coaching staff hasn't delivered, players haven't delivered, injuries have hit, and now you're at with where you're at. I don't believe there's a grand conspiracy to sabotage Mike McCarthy so they have an excuse to fire him. They had that excuse already. It was the Green Bay Packers playoff game disaster. They could have fired him. They just wanted to play it right down the middle. And what happens when you play it right down the middle? You land right on the fence and tear stuff. Richard Robinson. If Jerry cans McCarthy during the season, who takes over? Might as well write it out and get a high draft pick. The season is done. Maybe Bones Fossil would be your logical option because that could let Mike Zimmer coach the defense still and Schottenheimer the offense. Schottenheimer takes over on offense, I'd assume, because I don't know why the hell they give the Scott Tolzien as the play caller. I would also guess Zimmer could be a candidate. The dark horse is Al Harris, but I'm honestly at the point where I don't want an interim head coach to come in and go 500 or something and trick the Cowboys into just hiring him. Let's get some new blood in there. And I also, by the way, I like several members of your coaching staff. I like Al Harris. I like Linda Wells. He's your best offensive line coach, even though the coach is your tight ends right now. Let your new head coach pick his staff. Stop doing this thing where every time you make a coaching change or a coordinator change, he has to keep various assistants. Let's stop doing that. That's how you get a disjointed coaching staff. So does Mike McCarthy last the entire season? Pin comment on today's show. Go vote. Y for yes, N for no. Xavier Worthy's burner. This team sets up its players to fail. Well, Wilson's not a good coverage safety. He's not been known to be great in that role. Granted issues, at least he maximized potential Wilson by playing him in more of a hybrid linebacker role. Additionally, if you know your corners suck at tackling and effort, what are we working on at practice? No one thought of Williams as a top tackler, but you miss his presence in the run game too. On offense, Cooks is great at crosses and in space. Not on slants and hitches. If you wanted a Michael Gallup replacement, you should have drafted a big receiver in the draft. But no, we like our guys. This was Madden. you could be jerrying it and playing the game under your 80 overall players wouldn't be bad. This is real life. You can't just make no off-season moves and expect to get better. It's that last part that matters. Your self-explained plan was we're going to make our guys do more with less. Nobody thought that was going to work. This is probably on the more negative range of outcomes spectrum. No one thought that was going to work. Like, no one really believed it outside of hopium and delusionalness, which I think is a word. Your coaching staff has not done a good job. Your front office has not done a good job. These are the results you get. Chris B, this season sucks. Can we just sim the rest? I wish I could. I will be here every Sunday instead. What are you going to do? Makes it not fun sometimes. So, Steven, we know you're candidates for head coach, but if you were the owner, who would you want as GM? Ooh, okay. I'll be honest. I don't really spend that much time pining after GM candidates because I know that you have one already. I'll say this. I think if you just let Will McClay be a real GM, it'd probably be a little bit better. Now, he shares some blame too. I think it's a little bit tough to build a roster with one arm tied behind your back because your owner won't spend any free agency dollars, but it just makes it tricky. I would go to these successful teams. I would look and see, okay, who are the lieutenants in charge in Kansas City? That's Mike Borgonzi, their assistant GM. Who are the other top lieutenants around there in the NFL? I don't know if Ed Dodds has been well regarded before, but I don't know about that one. The Joe Horitz, who I think he's the new Ravens GM. Never mind that there. I think Terrence Gray up in Buffalo could maybe be an option. What worries me about this team is GMs are very heavily hired based on their interviews. Do we trust the Cowboys to interview well? Don't know. Braden, $2. I'm going to the game this Sunday, and it's looking like it's going to be a bad game to watch with how bad we are in the injuries. I thought we had a chance in the offseason. Braden, I'm sorry. Hopefully they pull an upset for you. Hopefully the Eagles fans aren't too big of a-holes. I also hope that you use the Gametime app for your tickets. Gametime is the place to get tickets to whatever event you're going to. Not just football, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Gametime Picks is the new feature. It allows you to filter out the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Gametime Picks is curation designed to save you even more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. The Gametime guarantee is this. Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy so you know exactly what your view is going to look like. So download the Gametime app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Download the Gametime app today. What time is it? It's game time. From my guy Mark, we paid good guys elite money. We have overrated coaches, poor cap management, won't sign players, and thinks we have great guys all over the team. I think the poor cap management matters. This is a team that pretty consistently waits and then pays the guy the money that they wanted in the first place. Between the Tank Lawrence contracts, the CeeDee Lamb contracts, the Dak Prescott contracts, the Amari Cooper contract, initially, you cost yourself tens of millions of dollars every year by waiting. That's another player you could have signed. Chris B. Mike's first year, Dak gets hurt. Mike's last year, Dak gets hurt. It's tough. It is tough. I would also argue that even before those injuries happened, the vibes were not good. Funnily enough, both those years, your defense was among the worst in football. Different reasons maybe, but they were among the worst anyway. From Tony, is this how the Cowboys tank? That they will never actively choose to rebuild. They might accidentally do it through bad decisions and stuff, but this is the closest I think this team will get to organic tanking. Coaching staff's on a one-year deal. There's frustration in the building. There's a lot of injuries. You didn't have the talent because you thought you were going to have to be a 9 or 10 win team. Then you lost a bunch of guys to injuries, and you haven't played well. You haven't coached well. All of it's kind of snowballed. It's too many straws going on that camel's back that was probably already carrying its mass amount of weight possible, and it all kind of fell apart on you. This is how you end up getting a top 10, top 15 pick, top 7 pick. This scenario where it's just been too much at too many different spots for everything to overcome. I want you guys then, as we are now past the halfway point, to predict the Cowboys record. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Mark, I don't care what the market says because Dak is not a guy who puts him on his shoulders, yet pays $60 million. Bottom line is, the guy has yet to beat good teams. That's the thing, though, he has. We just saw it last year. I really don't understand how we can potentially pick and choose what good team wins count. We don't get to count the Eagles at all last year, even though they were a playoff team. We don't get to count winning multiple playoff games because those playoff teams weren't good enough. I don't understand that argument. We don't get to count the Rams, even though they were a playoff team. The Lions, even though they were a playoff team. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's fine to say we want more. That's perfectly reasonable. I think we have identified what becomes too much to put on the shoulders of the quarterback, because I think we saw it was already maxed out last year, and then they added more weight, and look what happened. You don't have to like the market, that's fine. Then the answer is don't pay him at anything and go down the mystery box quarterback route. That's fine if that's your plan, which I know Mark was the plan, so it's fine. But I don't know. I think too often there's a tendency to only pick and choose games. If we're going to be justifiably mad about getting the butts kicked by Green Bay and San Francisco every year, to just ignore the other good parts and act like being the 7th or 8th best quarterback means you're the 17th best quarterback, I don't think that actually makes enough sense. Now, if you want to be a part of our Cowboys mailbags, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Zay for the win. What wide receiver in this year's draft? At least I assume it's for the win. I guess it is technically Zay FTW, but I'll translate that. I think pairs well with CD. Me, I like Luther Burden. I love Luther Burden. My concern is that you spent a 4th-round pick on Jonathan Mingo, who you probably won't get to see play with your franchise quarterback now. Well, if you do, it's not very much playing time. And you're going to go, okay, this is fine. We don't need a wide receiver. We like our guys. And then we're sitting here in September going, Cowboys don't have a number 2 receiver still. That's my concern. Chris B, if we lose the next 4 games, does Mike McCarthy get fired or ride these? Now, here's the issue. The 4-game timeline is a good time, I think, to mostly revisit. Because here's what you're facing, right? You got Eagles. You're not going to fire him this week. I'd be pretty shocked if that happened. Then you go Houston Monday Night Football. Are you going to fire a coach who is then going to be on the road Wednesday to go, or on the road Saturday to go play the Commanders? Probably not. That's probably too tight of a time for him to make it realistic. Then you play Thursday against the Giants. You're probably not going to fire him before that Thanksgiving game. If you lose your next 4, if you drop to 3-9, that makes sense to me. But if you beat the Giants, like you probably should still, are you going to fire Mike after a win? No, probably not. And then you got the Bengals, which is a Sunday game, or which is another Monday night game. So are you going to fire a head coach on a Tuesday for a Sunday game on the road the next week? Not how most NFL teams operate, to be fair. This is not a most normal team. Then it's the Bucs on Sunday night. Okay, then it's the Eagles. Well, at that point, you're in week 17, week 16. Should you just allow them to ride out? That's why that Giants game stands out to me. And why I would not rule out a Cowboys saying we don't want to pay a fired coach. Freddie says, why not use Trey Lance, I assume you mean, in the Taysom Hill role? Look, there's a couple different reasons for this. In general, I would like to see Trey Lance play. I don't think there's any real downside to Trey Lance getting some playing time. The big difference I have here is, what do you mean by the Taysom Hill role? Do you mean like packages at quarterback? Sure, you can give him wildcat stuff, do some low red zone looks to give him some mobility there. That's awesome. The other part of the Taysom Hill role is he also plays tight end, he plays receiver, he played running back, he played special teams. Is that what I don't think anyone actually means the Taysom Hill role with that. Like I don't think that's very likely. So I'm down to use him. It's not like Taysom Hill. Also, I never really liked the Taysom Hill role when you had Drew Brees. I always thought taking off Hall of Fame quarterback and putting Taysom Hill in there was kind of silly. You know? And I don't think Trey Lance is the same versatile player that, you got 30 snaps a game from Taysom Hill and not all of them were at quarterback. But I would like to use Lance in some packages. That I am on board with. So do you want to play Trey Lance? A for yes, B for no. Let me know in the comments section. Jason, is Schoonmaker a bust? Why don't we try Deuce anymore? Like, not run him right up the middle. I would like to see those guys play some this year. I kind of feel like if you lose a few more games, no disrespect meant, but giving handoffs to Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott kind of doesn't benefit you long term once you're out of it. So why bother? I'm ready to write off Luke Schoonmaker. He's played like 3 offensive snaps the past 2 weeks. He's just not good. By the way, that's like the one pick your head coach really, really, really pounded the table for. So read into it however you want to.